A safe, affordable, and stable home is often the very foundation for economic stability. Yet housing insecurity currently affects almost every community in the nation, and for millions of Americans, an affordable place to call home remains out of reach. Housing is considered affordable if our housing costs do not exceed 30% of our household's income. Today, an estimated 12 million renters and homeowners across the country now pay more than half of their annual incomes for housing.
There is no large city in the United States where the median income is sufficient to rent the average housing unit.
This severe housing cost burden means that family budgets can't stretch far enough to cover other necessities. And it means that they're more likely to fall behind on housing payments and be evicted. Ultimately, the lack of affordable housing options in our communities creates a number of financial and social pressures that affect us all. Why should we care about affordable housing? As rents rise but wages stay the same, workers who we all depend on, like firefighters, healthcare workers, and social workers, are priced out. Without a diverse workforce, our economy suffers. Affordable housing also contributes to economically vibrant and successful communities. This includes increases in local purchasing power, new job opportunities, and neighborhood vitality.
All of this is very important for cities to thrive, as we know that cities require diversity in all socioeconomic classes to properly function.
Safe, affordable housing provides children with the stability needed to fully participate in school, creating the foundation for productive lives as adults. And by providing families with greater residential stability, affordable housing can reduce stress and related adverse health outcomes.
And so all of these dimensions of affordability, access, and conditions play a role in how then housing is connected to health, both individually but also jointly.
Our collective vitality depends on policies that lower housing costs. If we don't address the housing crisis now, the problem will only get worse, and millions more Americans will soon be in real danger of homelessness. So why don't we have more affordable housing?
We really started getting into trouble with housing affordability shortages when we started talking about housing as a commodity as opposed to a basic need. Housing is a basic need as it's the foundation where everything else rests upon. And so, for example, you need an address to apply for many different benefits, or you need an address to enroll in school. And so, therefore, it plays a really big role in how we function in society.
The systems that support housing affordability have changed over time.
First, the federal government used to play the role as the catalyst for these projects by putting in the early money and in the form of grants and very low-cost loans, and those programs have diminished greatly. Secondly, grant subsidies in general to reduce the cost of the projects are not as readily available as they used to be. And third, there are significantly higher costs associated with housing development than there used to be, and the subsidies have not kept pace with the rising costs.
Some communities are disproportionately impacted by unaffordable housing, and these effects compound over time.
When we hear the term housing crisis, it's important to note that this has been many years in the making.
Black families have been particularly affected.
When we talk about where you live matters, it's important for us to also answer the question of why we live where we live. And some of these can be traced back to these historical policies that gave rise to factors like redlining practices that really segregated major cities across the country and limited people of color, in particular African Americans, to live in certain neighborhoods. And it's no coincidence that when we fast forward to today, those neighborhoods are also ones that we see that have higher air pollution exposure, have worse conditions in schools, and overall have worse infrastructure.
While historical policies have created the barriers of today, we can still change course by making changes for better housing options in the future.
And so it's important to note that while we can address those issues at a neighborhood level, we do need to address them at a much higher structural level.
Public policies shape the options that are available to everyone and are an important piece of the puzzle, which includes funding, zoning, and cultural shifts. These solutions need support from many different leaders, from policymakers to businesses, neighborhood groups, and community development corporations.
Community development corporations play three important roles in developing affordable, stable housing. First, CDCs actually build housing development projects. We act as developer and we bring all the disparate pieces together and build affordable housing. Secondly, we partner with for-profit developers who might not otherwise be interested in a affordable housing project by bringing subsidy in the form of grants into the project. And third, we help to preserve existing affordable housing to ensure that it does not transition to market rate housing.
Complex challenges like housing affordability require that we explore not just one, but many different solutions. Poverty Solutions at the University of Michigan and our partners continue to support action-based research that points to ways to expand and maintain affordable housing, prevent evictions and foreclosures, and reduce property tax burdens on people living in poverty. Learn more at poverty.umich.edu.